Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Awaken series. I hope you've used the 2 weeks since we have met to kind of go through parts 1 to 7 and keep yourself updated on the Awaken series. Today's lesson is the Karmic Code and how to crack the code. If you recall, in part 7, JadeFire mentioned that the next 3 lessons, which is part 8, 9, and 10, would be devoted to karmic patterns, their explanation, their elimination. More importantly, eliminating the toxic karmic patterns. And today is the first of those 3 lessons. There is much that I have learned today. There have been so many eye-opening insights that I received today as JadeFire downloaded all this information. There are so many pieces of the puzzle that I've been able to put together. So there used to be information, and one bit here and one bit there and another bit somewhere else, but putting it together was not something that I was able to do. And today, with today's explanation, there were so many bits that kind of fell into place for me. And I realized why things were what they were and how we had been explained and why we had been explained what we had been explained in the years that have brought us to this moment. So to start with, let us understand karma. And throughout these lessons, throughout the entire Awaken series, JadeFire has kind of turned around everything that we knew. And the layers of truth that he has been unfolding for us have been, they've taken me at least by surprise. And there have been, through the entire series, so many aha moments for me, moments of amazement, moments of complete clarity and understanding. And today, his discussion on karma and the karmic code is not only a moment of clarity, but the entire lesson for me was hugely insightful. So he started by saying that karma is a continuous cycle. It's an energy pattern. And he says to define karma by talking only of negative energy patterns is actually absolutely incorrect. Every word, every action, every thought, every feeling, every emotion that we experience releases its own energy. We already know that. JadeFire says when the word karma is simplified to its bare bones, to its very root, the word karma means nothing more and nothing less than an energy pattern. So he says everything that you do is karma. And he goes on to say that things like breathing and talking and walking and chewing and swallowing, everything is karma. Thinking about something, even if you don't voice it, is an energy release. So that's karma. Feeling something, even if it is a feeling of excitement, that's an energy release, and that is karma. So he explains that karma is nothing else but a continuous cycle of energy patterns. Yes, we have spoken of karma as negative because he goes on to explain, because that is what we would like to set right. That is what we would like to bring into alignment. So, due to that, our focus has been erroneously only on the negative, when actually karma is a sum of all energy patterns. Every action of ours, every word, every deed, every thought, every feeling is an energy release. And this energy release creates an energy pattern, because energy moves in a pattern. And this energy pattern is known as karma. So as I am talking and as you are listening, and maybe while you're listening, you're doing something else or you're thinking about something else, for both of us, we are releasing certain energies which have certain patterns, and that is a karmic cycle. Then he goes on to explain that the knowledge of all energy patterns lie not with you as a personality, but this knowledge lies within your soul. Within your soul dwells all knowledge and all information of all energy patterns that you and I have created over our so-called incarnations. Now we have to understand, and he keeps reminding me to remind others, that an incarnation is nothing but the soul shifting from one vehicle to another vehicle as it continues on its one soul journey. So this incarnation and my earlier incarnation and my next incarnation will not be differing soul journeys. They are just one journey of my soul just shifting its vehicles. Why does it shift vehicles? When it finds that the physical vehicle is coming to a point of decay, and matter, as its nature, matter will decay. So if the vehicle is decaying rapidly and the soul energy is then unable to use that vehicle for optimum performance, it is going to shift from that vehicle. Or if it finds that that vehicle, for whatever reason, according to the soul's plan, that vehicle is no more effective, even if it has not started the process of decaying, but for some reason it's not effective anymore, and the soul plan is therefore going to be jeopardized, then that vehicle will be discarded. But the soul continues on its journey. So the patterns, the energy patterns that we have released in several incarnations, the energy patterns that we release in this incarnation, that we have released in this incarnation, and that we shall continue to release in this incarnation, all of this information is stored in the soul. How is it stored? It is stored by what JadeFire calls the Karmic Code. It is coded information. It is a cosmic code. It's not a code that you and I will ever be able to understand with our intelligent mind. So it's a cosmic code, and with this code, the soul keeps that information within its energy space. And there is a very good reason why the soul does that. In this energy space, the soul keeps information of all kinds of patterns. And JadeFire says that is exactly the reason why you don't ever have to teach a child how to walk, how to crawl, how to breathe, how to eat, how to swallow. And you don't ever teach a child how to talk. It just talks. So JadeFire asks, where does this information come to this child, to the baby? How does this baby know how to breathe, how to talk, how to walk, how to swallow, if no one is teaching it? And he says the answer is simple. This information of these energy patterns lie in the karmic code of the soul of that child. And here he once again explains to me that, do you understand now that not all karmic patterns are what you have called negative? In fact, without the presence of these karmic patterns, you and I as babies would not have known how to crawl and how to walk and how to eat and how to talk. But the karmic code has all of this information. And at appropriate moments in time, it releases that information, which JadeFire calls activating the karmic code. So it activates the karmic code, which, let us say, has information about how to walk. Then it activates the karmic code that has information about how to talk. It activates the karmic code about how to jump. When it does that, when that particular karmic code is activated, the soul then joins with the genetic code. Now, we are looking at another code. Just as the karmic code exists and dwells in the soul's energy. The genetic code exists and dwells in the body energy, in the DNA structure. When the karmic code is activated, it instantly and simultaneously activates the appropriate genetic code held within the DNA. If this did not happen, if this synchronicity did not take place between the soul and the body, there would be no communication which would enable us to take even basic actions. So the soul from very birth is activating the karmic code at given points in time. And this is why JadeFire explained, and this was a huge OIC moment for me. This is why certain children, when they are babies or very, very, very young, get serious diseases and illnesses. So often people have asked me, but what karma can a 1-year-old kid have created for the kid to have such high diabetes, let us say? And I have given answers, but even while I was answering, I knew that my answers were somewhere not complete. And today, it made perfect sense to me. Today, I received clarity. In the child's blueprint, which we see when we create the soul chart report and we study the soul chart reports together, in every blueprint is the information of the karmic code. That information activates itself according to the blueprint plan. The awareness of this plan is also held by the soul. When the moment comes, when the blueprint plan, when that part of the blueprint plan has to become active, the soul that has all information activates that part of the karmic code. When that karmic code is activated, simultaneously the genetic code is activated, creating, let us say, diabetes in that 1-year-old child, if that is the choice of the soul as per the blueprint. Now, JadeFire was very clear that though you can read a lot of information from the soul chart, there is still a huge amount of information that is present in the soul chart, but which we are still unable to read because we are still ignorant of the complete karmic code. And as the time evolves and as we evolve, that information will start coming up and we shall be illuminated. Now, how does this code work? JadeFire explains the aspect of pattern. And he says, you have very loosely, all of you have very loosely used the word energy patterns without really understanding what a pattern means. Whether it is a thought or a word or an action or a feeling or an emotion, it releases its specific, unique energy. As soon as it releases it, it leaves, well, it doesn't leave, but it goes from your energy space out into the universe. If it is specifically directed by you towards a particular person or a thing or a situation, that energy that you have released goes to that person, goes to that situation, goes to that object, and does something very interesting. It enters the space of that person or that situation or that object only. Please listen to this. It enters the energy matrix of that person, that object, or that situation only if that energy that you have released is going to somehow create a greater soul alignment for that person or in that situation. If the energy release is going to create a greater soul misalignment, the energy shall bounce off the energy matrix of the situation, the person, the object. It shall bounce off. And then where can it go? It returns to you. So, if I have a thought of jealousy, envy, that thought is released by me. It goes because I'm jealous or envious of a person, I have given that energy a direction. So it goes to that person. If this energy is going to cause misalignment, which it probably would because it is an energy of envy, the energy matrix of that person will deny it entry. As soon as entry is denied, the energy bounces off and finds its way back to me. Because it is an energy that I have released, my energy matrix cannot deny it re-entry. So this energy, which is a soul misalignment causing energy, now enters my energy space and creates a further misalignment for me. So JF says, you use the words negative and positive energies extremely erroneously. There is nothing like negative energy or positive energy. An energy either creates or facilitates further soul alignment, or an energy will create or facilitate further soul misalignment. And he goes on to explain that The alignment or misalignment that he is referring to is the alignment or misalignment with the soul mission. So any energy that encourages and furthers your alignment with your soul mission will be taken into your energy space. Any energy that furthers misalignment with your soul mission will be bounced off and will return to the person who is the original creator of that energy. Are we all completely clear up to now? I'd like to go slowly today, even if we kind of run a little over time, because this is extremely important to understand. Okay, so let's move on then. So JadeFire continues. If every word, every thought, every emotion, every feeling, every action creates an energy pattern which is held in the karmic code, it automatically follows, therefore, that the karmic code is in a state of constant change. Which means that the karmic code that you and I were born with is completely different from the karmic code that you and I have at this moment. And interestingly, the karmic code that you and I have at this moment will be different from the karmic code that you and I will have, let's say 40 minutes from now, when this lesson ends, because I shall have released so much energy through my words and my actions, and you shall have released so much energy by the act of listening, thinking, writing, or whatever else follows. So this was another eye-opener for me, that the karmic code is never constant. Not only does it change throughout our life, it changes every single day, it changes every moment. Now, he says, this is both beneficial to you and may not be beneficial to you. And he goes on to explain. Let us assume that at the beginning of the day, I started off with angry thoughts, abusive actions, nasty words. All of these released huge energy waves, which my common sense tells me would naturally be energy patterns that would further misalignment of the soul with its soul mission. And therefore, they would bounce back and enter my energy space, causing further misalignment for me. Let's assume then that through the course of the day, by receiving this information from JadeFire, I shifted my thoughts. Let's assume I did a meditation. Let's assume that I chanted, that I prayed, that I did a Ho'oponopono exercise and sent love to the person or situation. Now, the energy that I have released is energy that we would have otherwise called positive, but which we now know is energy that furthers alignment of the soul with the soul mission. As soon as that energy is received by the other person or by the situation or by the object, because that person and I are one energy, because there is only unified energy in the world, what benefits that person shall also benefit me. And so I receive waves of these soul aligning energies. By the end of the day, the karmic code that I started the day with, due to the anger, would be entirely different from the karmic code that I would end the day with, due to the so-called positive energies that I have released. And so JadeFire says, that all of you spend so much time trying to find ways in which to clear your karma. You spend so much time trying to clean what is called the karmic slate. You spend so much time thinking about the karmic backlog that you have brought with you, when changing the karmic code is one of the simplest things you can do. So he says, if you have been angry with someone, if you have abused someone, if you have been cruel to someone, if you have thought badly about someone, all you have to do to change that karmic code is to then send that same person waves of soul aligning energy. And it could be any kind of soul aligning energy. For example, he says, if that person is, and you know that that person is, let us say, suffering from a small, minor, common cold, send energies that shall heal. If you know that that person is attempting to find a new home for themselves, send energies or chant or pray that their endeavors, their desires, their wishes shall be fulfilled swiftly. So he says it is so simple to change the karmic code. Instead of going into shame and guilt. Now, getting into shame and guilt, you are releasing hugely soul misaligning energies. Now, because shame and guilt is not really being directed at someone else, what are you doing? You are directing the energies of shame and guilt towards yourself. This is very important for all of us to understand. Now, because these energies have been released by me, I am the original creator of these energies. Remember what I said earlier. Because I am the original creator of these energies, my energy matrix cannot forbid the energies from entering my matrix. As soon as they enter my matrix, my karmic code has already changed. When my karmic code changes, please listen to this. When my karmic code changes, my genetic code changes simultaneously. Whenever an aspect of the karmic code is activated, simultaneously, the genetic code in the DNA that aligns with that part of the karmic code also changes. If the same energy patterns continue, and for the first time I absolutely and completely understood why energy that is misaligned creates dis-ease in the body. I understood the why. I always knew that it did. Today, I understood very clearly the why and the how. Let us assume that I release the energy of anger every day. This energy of rage, let us assume, is directed to a certain person or to a certain country or to a certain community or to a certain situation. And I go on and on and on with this. Not only over a day, not only over days, not only over weeks, not only over months, but maybe over years. Every time the energy of anger is released by me, the karmic code changes. It doesn't mean that it's because it's the same energy of rage that the karmic code will not change. No. Every time you release an energy, the karmic code changes. Now, if it is being changed by one or more predominant energy patterns that go on over, as I said, an extended period of time, if it is being changed by one or more predominant energy patterns that go on over an extended period of time, the karmic code, in a sense, as JadeFire showed me in a picture, instead of writing something on paper with pencil, which I can erase, now the karmic code is like taking a sharp object and etching that into the bark of a very strong tree. Whereas you can erase the pencil, you cannot erase what you have etched so deeply. Of course, it can be still changed, and we'll come to that. Now, every time this energy of rage changes the karmic code, what is happening simultaneously? The genetic code held in the DNA, in the body, is changing simultaneously. Now, you are changing this DNA code every day, every week, every month, every year, year in, year out. At some point, the DNA code, the genetic code, changes enough for hereditary genes to be activated. those genes that you have inherited from your mother and your father. Genes that are pertaining to propensity to have a certain dis-ease, propensity towards a certain illness. Those genes are activated in your DNA, in your genetic code, and you get a dis-ease. And JadeFire explains that your ancestors, through your mother, through your father, through the genetic code that you have received, through the genes that you have inherited from them, your ancestors live on within you through the DNA. And this made me go again as an aha, because when I teach Ho'oponopono, one of the important things that we teach is when we are clearing what is within us, we are also clearing our ancestral, let us say, energy inheritance. And again, at those times, I couldn't really understand how and why those ancestral energy inheritance was within me. Today, I understood. They live within you through your DNA. Because you share the same genes with your mother and your father. Your mother shares the same genes with her mother and her father. Your father shared the genes with his mother and his father. And going on and on and on and on. Can you see how the ancestral genetic information comes to you and is stored in your DNA? And one of the things that is stored in the genetic code is the propensity towards certain diseases, towards certain illnesses. And he gives an example here. He says that is why two children belonging to the same mother and the same father, being brought up in the same family structure, they both have the same genetic code. Well, almost the same genetic code, because they've taken certain genes from their mother, certain genes from their father. Mother and father are common. But their karmic code is not common. Their karmic code does not depend on their mother and father. Their karmic code depends upon themselves. Their karmic code depends on the journey that they have already taken. Their karmic code depends on the energy releases that they are responsible for. So the two siblings will have completely differing karmic codes, even though the genetic structures may be very, very similar. In twins, they might be even more similar. And that is why, due to the differing karmic code that each one is born with, due to the karmic code that is in a constant state of change, one sibling may inherit the disease and the other sibling has not even a tiny sign of it. And then he goes on to say, this is why a soul chooses the mother and father, and the mother and father do not choose the soul as the child. And again, for me, this was another huge moment of clarity. So I always knew that the soul chooses its mother and its father. I did not know the 100% reason why. And today, JadeFire explained. It is not only because of the experiences that your mother and father can facilitate for you. It is in actuality. The prime reason for choosing the mother and the father is what can they give you as a genetic code. Their genes are what is important for you more than anything else that they can offer or not offer you. The genes that they offer you are of prime importance. For me, this was a huge stand on my head moment, because it had never occurred to me that the soul is so conscious about the selection of the genes. And I asked JF, why? Why are the genes so important? You are telling me that this is the prime reason for the soul choosing the mother and the father. Why is this so important? We have already seen that the karmic code instantly and simultaneously activates the appropriate genetic code. Right? Now, if that karmic code, needs to be so strongly aligned with the genetic code, then it makes complete reason that the genetic code must be one that can support the karmic code. The genetic code must be one that can support the karmic code. Let's explain this a little more in detail. Before you and I entered this new vehicle, which I call Ellaeenah, you call whatever your name is. Before we entered this new vehicle, we charted out a blueprint for this phase of our journey. We charted out a blueprint for this phase of our journey. This blueprint we can see as our natal chart. This is what you and I studied when we studied the Akashic Records classes. This is what you and I study when I create your soul chart reports. So the soul creates a blueprint plan for this phase of the journey. This phase of the journey and its plan needs to be aligned with the karmic code. So when we talk of the Akashic records, what the soul really studies is the karmic code. Remember that karmic code remains in the soul constantly. So the soul studies that karmic code and decides on a certain plan of action because it wants to crack that code. Now, in order to put its plan into action, because it knows that it's going to take a human body form, it needs something in the human body that will work in complete alignment, that will work with complete synchronicity, and that will work simultaneously with the karmic code. And that is the genetic code that is in the DNA. Now, to get that genetic code that is most appropriate, excuse me, the soul requires the genes from the mother and the father. And that is why the selection of mother and father for the genes they bring onto the table is of prime importance. We have chosen our mother and father for the genes they gave us, because that created the genetic code that you and I needed in order to crack the karmic code. Now, why is it important to crack the karmic code? I mean, I didn't want a superficial answer that everyone wants to, clean their karmic slate. I realized as soon as JadeFire was giving me all this information that, I don't want any of these cliched, trite answers. So I asked him, why is it important for me to crack the karmic code? Yes, I understand it's for my evolution, but explain to me exactly how. I now want that exact 100% clarity as you've given me on all the other subjects. So he says, in your karmic code are two distinct kinds of energy patterns. One energy pattern creates, facilitates, encourages soul alignment with the soul mission. The other furthers and encourages misalignment with the soul mission. He says, now let us take the mathematics of a 4-year-old. And he says, a simple mathematical equation will tell you x minus y will give you z. For example, 4 minus 3 will give you 1. And he says, to put it very simply, this is what your light signature is. If the volume of soul aligning energies are greater than the volume of soul misaligning energies, the result is a very bright light emitted by you. Not only by your soul, emitted by you, even as a person. If your soul misaligning energies are greater in volume than the soul aligning energies, your light signature will be very, very dim. So instead of a 200-watt bulb, it might be a 10-watt bulb. Now, your journey towards your soul mission, and for me, this was another aha moment, your journey, your movement towards your soul mission depends on the brightness and the radiance of your light signature. And he gives me a very, very simple example. If you have a 200 watt power bulb, then you have the ticket to get on to a jet plane. If you have a 10 watt bulb, then you have a ticket to get on to a slow moving bus. And he says, no one is giving out these tickets. You are giving these tickets to yourself. Because he says, karma is not only self-created, it is also self-directed and self-creating. I want to explain these terms to you. So karma is not only self-created. My every thought, word, action, feeling, emotion creates the energy pattern. That much I know now. But it is also self-directed and self-creating. Why is it self-directed? He says, from this explanation of the karmic code, you should now be able to understand in greater clarity why karma is not with another person, but karma is with yourself. Karma is a continuous cycle of energy patterns that you release. And he says, with this definition, where does another come into the picture? So, the brighter our light signature, the quicker is our movement towards our soul mission. And it makes perfect sense to me, because a bright light means a far greater volume of soul aligning energies. And what is aligned? The soul is aligning with its soul mission. So the greater my light signature, the greater is my alignment with my soul mission. And so naturally, I mean, this is not rocket science. Naturally, therefore, my movement towards my soul mission is faster. When my light signature is dim, it's almost as though I have to try to find the way through that darkness, because there's very little light lighting up my path. Now I asked him, with this karmic code that is therefore constantly changing. And remember, guys, because the karmic code is constantly changing, our light signature is constantly changing. And you know, years ago, I've lost track of how many years ago, but I know the channeling is on my YouTube channel. There was a channeling on the light signature. And I think taking responsibility for your light signature or something like that. I am personally going to go back and hear that channeling. And I'm going to hear that channeling in the light of what I know today. because now I know that my light signature is as strong, as radiant, as vibrant, and as glowing as I choose it to be. And how do I choose it? I choose it by my words, my actions, my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings. So I asked JF, what is the fuel for the karmic code? Yes, I know it's my words, my actions, my blah, blah, blah. I know that. But what is the energy fuel for my karmic code? And his answer was simple. He says the energy fuel for the karmic code, to crack the karmic code, the energy fuel to crack the karmic code is consciousness. And I smiled and I said, come on, JF, give me a less abstract answer. And he said, okay, let me give you a less abstract answer. He says, consciousness is nothing else but your, I loved this, but your I amness, your I amness. And he said, let's understand this. When you release the energy of anger, your I amness is I am angry. When you release the energy of compassion, your I amness is I am compassionate. When you release the energy of a lie, your I amness is I am untruthful or I am dishonest. Consciousness is your moment to moment I amness. And he says, this is what you use. This is what you can use to crack the code. Your I amness. In your moments of reactivity, in your moments of judgment, in your moments of condemnation, in your moments of love and charity and altruism, just for a moment, become aware of your I amness. If your I amness is releasing energies that are causing your soul to misalign with the mission, change it there and then. Change it there and then. Change it to energies that you are emitting that will encourage your soul to align further with the mission. And he says, is it necessary to know the mission accurately? He said, yes. There are some who will know their missions because you are giving it to them in their soul chart reports. But is that really necessary to crack the code? He says, not at all. You don't need to know your soul mission. You just need to know that your soul has a mission. And that because it's a soul mission, it is an uplifting mission. It is a mission of service. It is a mission of cosmic love. It is a mission of cosmic abundance. It is a mission of cosmic power, of cosmic wisdom, of cosmic unity. You know that. So what if you do not know your exact soul mission? That knowledge has nothing to do with whether you crack the code or don't crack the code. So this was really important. I'm just going to quickly go through all the points to see if I've left out anything. Yes, I have. This one is interesting. As the human race has evolved, certain limitations from the karmic code have been lifted. What does this mean? And for me, I really didn't understand this when he said this. So I asked for a detailed explanation. He said in the centuries that have gone, in the many generations that have gone, at that time, in our very distant past, the karmic code was limited by the soul blueprint. And he said at that time, even the soul blueprints were very different from what they are now. So the karmic code at that time was very severely limited to X, Y, Z, A, B, C patterns that the soul had chosen to reverse. So the soul can reverse these patterns by, for example, if it's cruelty, then working with compassion and kindness. Yes, there are certain patterns where a soul chooses that if I have been cruel to someone, in order to reverse what I have done, I will create cruelty being done to me. And that is a soul choice. It's not a punishment. The soul could very easily choose to reverse that pattern by not choosing any kind of unpleasant experience, but by in fact choosing, let us say, to work with people and show them kindness and compassion and, be like a nurse or a doctor. Entirely the soul's choice. Entirely the soul's choice. Karma is not punishment. Now, as the human race evolved, this limitation has been entirely lifted. And now we are coming to a very important aspect of the karmic code as it relates to us today, as in the pandemic. Over the years, there is now no limitation placed on the karmic code by the soul blueprint. No limitation. Yes, there are certain karmic energy patterns that are of significant importance for the soul to reverse, but the karmic code is not limited only to those patterns. In fact, the karmic code can now activate any and every karmic pattern as decided by the soul at any moment in time. This made sense to me. Again, why certain people would tell me, I had no problem with money for 60 years of my life. I lived a fabulous life, luxurious life. Suddenly at 61, everything turned. And I have no idea why it turned. Because even though, and when you look at their soul chart, money is not one of the karmic issues. Money is not one of the karmic issues. So the soul had not decided to work on this issue, but for some reason, which is only, it's not open for us to ask why. Each soul makes that decision. The soul activated another aspect of the karmic code that was outside the purview of the soul blueprint, because due to our evolution as a race, we are now able to take on this ownership, a greater ownership of our karmic energy patterns. Now, JadeFire goes on to say, in your soul, you have the karmic code, but you have two more codes. You have the collective karmic code, and you have the evolutionary code. So you have your personal karmic code, you have a collective karmic code, and you have an evolutionary code. What is the evolutionary code? The evolutionary code is nothing more than the cosmic plan. The cosmic plan for human evolution, which every single soul is aware of. And why is every single soul aware of it? Because this evolutionary code exists in the soul. So the soul knows what is the next phase of evolution, even though you and I and our intelligent mind does not know. Now, because the soul knows what is the next stage of evolution, what is the current stage of evolution, and what is the stage of evolution that the human race has just passed through, because the soul has all of this information, the soul has to ensure that the human race gets into a state of readiness. So what does it do? It activates the collective karmic code. The collective karmic code are energy patterns that every single one on earth will have. For example, energy patterns released by fear, energy patterns released by guilt, energy patterns released by violence. These are collective patterns. As soon as an evolutionary phase comes close at hand, the collective karmic code that could hinder the plan is activated so that it can be reversed. The collective karmic code has energies, again, that align our collective souls with evolution or misalign our collective souls with our evolution. All those patterns that stand in the way of the next evolution plan have to be reversed. The soul then uses the energies and the help of the planets, and it creates, because remember, we are cosmic ray 4, harmony through conflict. The collective soul creates pandemics, and JF says, now do you understand even better the importance of this time on earth? It can create natural disasters, It can create imbalances of fire, water, earth. It can also create revolutions and wars on a global scale, because it's a collective consciousness. And he says the collective consciousness is further broken up into the collective consciousness of a community, the collective consciousness of a nation, the collective consciousness of a continent, the collective consciousness of the planet as a whole. So as evolution progresses, any energy in the collective karmic code, any energy pattern in the collective karmic code that stands in the way of that evolution has to be reversed. As soon as the collective karmic code is activated, those aspects of the personal karmic code shall also be activated. And he says that is why the pandemic has treated different people in different ways. For some, there has been expansion and growth. For others, there has been sickness, there has been death, there has been huge trouble. Because when a collective karmic code is activated, the personal karmic code is activated as appropriate for that person's, that soul's blueprint plan. Again, to crack that karmic code, personal or collective, the fuel is I amness, consciousness. And what fuels our I amness? Our intention. If I say something to you and it sounds really good and it sounds really kind, but if my intention behind that is to manipulate you, is to exploit you, is to take advantage of you, then my I amness is not compassionate. I am not compassionate. I am greedy, or I am manipulative, or I am dishonest. So what fuels the I amness, what fuels the consciousness is the intention. And that is extremely important to understand. So what JadeFire says is the world as a whole is activating a cosmic plan together. And here I'd like to read out to you. Many of you may have got my email telling you about the brief channeling that JF gave me. But for those who haven't, I'm going to read it out. The end of 2020 brings the end of a 2000 plus year cycle. It ushers in a new phase of collective consciousness and human evolution that shall stretch over a cosmic cycle of over 2000 years. This cycle shall begin by phasing out patterns of human living that have kept you bound in materialism and denseness. It then encourages old systems to fall: financial, political, commercial, social, communal, and familial, and births new systems that anchor divinity into daily life. Divinity that is natural, easy, free-flowing, and unlabored. These earth changes have already begun and shall continue undeterred. There is no force on earth strong enough to resist or withstand this metamorphosis. Will the change be an easy one? There is no specific answer to that. The more conscious and self-chosen the personal changes are, the more exhilarating and life-affirming shall be the metamorphosis. The more you choose to remain in the old energies that shall have no space to exist in the earth matrix after December of 2020, the greater shall be the personal challenges faced. These challenges are actually opportunities that you shall create for yourself to review, renew, and re-emerge. In fact, a win-win situation, however you choose to face the coming cycle. This cycle can be called the cosmic anchorage and ushers in a gradual transformation in matter itself, such that it can exist as matter only when light energy within it predominates. Today, the world sees dense matter as substantial, but the days of this fact are numbered. The cycle of cosmic anchorage shall redefine matter itself as the container for light. And by the time this new cycle gives way to yet another future cycle, matter shall not be able to exist unless it is completely filled with light. The changes, though they may be imperceptible initially, shall start from the beginning of 2021. And the more willing and conscious your process of personal change, the more exciting and miraculous shall be the shifts that you shall live through. And based on this channeling, JadeFire inspired me to start the 30-day meditation alchemy program. I've sent you a detailed email of that program. If you can, I urge you to do it. It ends in December 2020. It starts on the 1st of December. By the time the new cycle begins, this 30-day meditation alchemy program shall have started a major process of metamorphosis in you. Every day I shall be inspired by JadeFire. Some days he will talk and I shall record. Some days he will write and I shall send it to you. Go through that email. If you are on my subscription list, you've received that email. Go through it in great detail, because not only did he give me the program, he gave me the program for every day of the 30 days. He's already laid it out for us. We can crack this code. And remember, when you and I crack our personal codes, instantly we facilitate the cracking of the collective code. And as the collective code is cracked, the evolutionary code can only become more active, more powerful. I am excited by this lesson of ours today. I hope you are as excited. I'm looking forward to cracking that code, and he has made it so simple for us. All we have to do is pay attention to our I amness. I mean, how much more simple and how much more practical could JF have got? I'm sorry I've taken up more time than I had scheduled for you. Have a great week till we meet again. And let's all crack that code together. Ciao. See ya.